soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force.
You are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. Our air offensive has seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war, and placed at our disposal great reserves of trained fighting men. Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
Howdy, folks, and welcome. I hope this finds you well. Today, we'll be talking about one of the best first-person action games of the 2000s, Call of Duty 2. Call of Duty as a franchise has gone through a lot of changes, whether that was the focus of the games, how they functioned, or most importantly, what their goal was. In my Brothers in Arms retrospective, I talked a little about what the game wanted to achieve and how it wanted to go about that. Brothers in Arms wanted to show the brutality of war through the eyes of one person, Sergeant Baker. Now, Call of Duty 2's narrative is split between three people: the Sealy of the Red Army, John Davis of the 7th Armored Division, and Corporal Bill Taylor of the 2nd Ranger Battalion. I enjoyed both methods because they both exposed the indecency and chaos of war, with the undertones of brotherhood, bravery, and courage. Call of Duty 2 achieves this by the sheer scale they bring to the game, and I was blown away by some of the level designs and how harsh and unrelenting they were. I'm surprised this was rated teen and not M. Not to hark on the ESRB, who I think are not the best intentioned oversight committee, Call of Duty 2 had me at the threshold for my sensory overload. You are almost constantly ducking, dodging, fighting, and flanking. There were no points in this game where I said, I should think about this for more than a minute. You just didn't have the time. Whether it was the gunfire suppressing your position, seeing your comrades get blown apart by MG fire, or get hit by a grenade, the sound design and visual pairing is undeniably amazing and exhausting. I had to stop at times to listen to the soundscape too, especially in cities. I was enamored by how well these sound effects and background ambiance held up almost 20 years later. And what 20 years has done to gaming. Wow, I remember when they had Xbox 360 displays when it was debuting, and they had COD 2 level at Toys R Us in Times Square. I played that for what felt like the whole day, even though it was probably only 20 minutes. This game definitely had a memory in my mind, but I didn't remember a lot about it, just certain bits and pieces. After finishing Brothers in Arms and being blown away by how they told their story, I was eager to see how Call of Duty went about it, what worked and what doesn't. To do this, we'll be going through the whole campaign and looking at level design, visuals, sound, gameplay, and much, much more. If that sounds good to you, then I hope you're comfy, have something to relax with, because this is war.
You poor fascist bastards came all the way here just to die, huh?
Früher oder später musst du doch dran glauben!
It wouldn't be a Dog Dad video without hearing from you. Your thoughts and opinions on the games I cover. What are your memories of Call of Duty 2? Did you ever play the multiplayer? Let me know in the comments below. Call of Duty 2 starts off strong with this pseudo-trailer for the game. I think it sets up the game perfectly, but oh man, this went on for a while. Save some for the game. It's not like they can spoil World War II, but you know. Anyways, Call of Duty 2 implements really great footage from the History Channel or the Military Channel. It really shows the scale of destruction Nazi Germany inflicted by 1941. It also sets up the story well. The USSR is pretty hurt by the first Blitzkrieg, and you can tell by how munitions are scarce.
These are potatoes, Comrade Commissar. Why are we using potatoes instead of real grenades?
Because real grenades are valuable. In fact, they are worth a lot more than you are.
I love this because it teaches you a gameplay mechanic, but also makes it more tangible. I feel like in newer games they wouldn't have any question about letting the player just try out a grenade over and over again. This potato, even though small, does a lot as a small detail. The voice acting is also decent, and I love these what I would call level progressions in the game. I can best describe them as checkpoints. You get to a certain point and then something happens to open up the next part of the level. It almost never felt gimmicky, even though I had to wait a couple of times. It did feel organic while being linear, a thing most developers have forgotten they can do. The game also teaches you the necessity of smoke grenades during a hectic start, and the game does not let up from here. It's also interesting because Call of Duty of course gets the moniker of run and gun, yet in Call of Duty 2, even on regular difficulty, if I was not in cover, I'd probably die if there were enough crowds. Not to say I didn't bunny hop sometimes and the AI isn't the smartest in the world, but from what I was expecting after the masterpiece of gameplay from Brothers in Arms, I was pleasantly surprised how engaging the shooting was, even though there was no dedicated cover system. Another aspect of the game I really enjoyed was that you have incentives to flank. The maps are big enough that there are multiple ways to get to your objective, and you can choose the order, which were some of my favorite missions. After destroying a half-track and getting our training scout badge, we continue on.
My God, I thought we were in training.
There is no better training, comrade, than fighting to survive.
I like how each mission starts with a letter from your character, but I would say, why not voice these people? I think that it would bring even more of a connection between the player and the character, especially since some of these letters are well written. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in Stalingrad, and if you know anything about this battle, you know it's one of the most tragic and brutal battles in World War II. It's insane what humans can do when they put their minds to it, good or horrible alike. You can see the level design, the beautiful little details. I never felt like I was in just a random place in Stalingrad. You could tell you were battling through someone's apartment complex or a mail office. For 2005, this was spectacular, and I smiled thinking about how Half-Life 2 made their city feel lived in too. This is a great feat and not easily done. And I love this tank scene as well. This is one of those memories that is still so strong in my head.
Tanks up above! Get down!
Look at these little vignettes the game is telling. It's quite amazing, and this sort of push and pull of advancing and defending was remarkably intense. You don't really know what's coming next, and that's a great feeling in video games, or any media in fact. I mean, this is epic.
Steady, comrades! Wait till they get close! For the Soviet Union and for your glorious motherland! Get ready! Here I come! Open fire!
The defense, then the storming of the administration building is one of those awe-inspiring moments that happened during this game. Yes, there was not one Vasily who rushed in playing on regular mode blasting away Nazi scum. But these were real people that fought in minus 15-degree conditions to liberate their city. It baffles me the scale of endurance needed for these feats. Anyways, we plant the charges on the main supports and watch this go boom. Guys, this game is freaking amazing already. I compare it to a fun 80s or 90s action film. Yes, you have your serious thrillers from that time, but then you have your so much fun movies that it's an experience rather than a media itself. In contrast to the sort of run and gun tactics, the game grounds the player a lot. Having these real footage blurbs before levels shows you some of the devastation that has occurred already. And I mean, look at this blown out building. The level design is fantastic. I love these long roadways that you need to smoke out, and then you have this verticality aspect to get above the crowds and rain havoc on them. All of this is happening while you're trying to find a telephone line. It's wild. We finally repair the wire and get into contact with someone who informs us that we have bigger problems than regular troops.
Hold on a moment. Ребята, они прорвались там! Да! Немцы прорвались! Fences spotted approaching your sector! Hunt those bastards down! Good luck! Help!
I love this tank fight. Having to flank over to the left and put the bombs on yourself was great, and it feels like you're a commando in the special forces.
Advance on their positions!
Yeah, that's satisfying. I'll say it again, if you think you can get a breather in this game, you do not. I know I say it a lot, but this truly blows my mind how much small details they put into each campaign, especially when it comes to the scripting. Walking through these oil pipes was thrilling. Seeing the bullets taking down your comrades and the sound that accompanied it really took me aback. This was a long sequence, which made me feel a bit claustrophobic. It was great exiting the pipe and seeing this beautiful derelict train station. This level was so huge, and again, the game really lets you play around with the verticality. I know I talk about it a lot, but it's not just a visuals perspective thing. Having multiple floors, needing to use them to defend against the counterattacks makes them integral to the level itself. It makes the game world feel more lived in. It gives the players more choices on how to defend, and it's just visually striking. All of this combined with fantastic gunplay at this point in playing the game had my mouth ajar. People screaming, bullets blazing past, smoke and fire around, yeah, this was war. And if you want to play this game, firstly do it. It's great and still holds up to this day, but also play with studio headphones if you have them. I have a pair of 2011 Sony plugins I got for cheap on eBay, and they make games that really work on their sound mixing to a whole different level. After literally a 30-minute firefight, we finally take out the remaining German forces. We continue our push into Stalingrad, and there's this great line about how before the war, it would only take 2 minutes to walk to their destination, and now it could take a day or more. I love this area because it really gives the player agency on how they want to attack the tanks. And honestly, open areas are pretty fun with a lot of cover, which the game does provide. We get our enemy at the gates part, and I have to defend against the wave of Germans.
Fourth floor, gray building!
Now, I don't know how I feel about the game doing these last stand types because it kind of repeats a lot. Not to say this isn't epic, but it's a battle that you'll get used to. What distinguishes these moments enough is the visuals. I mean, look at this, the smoke effects, the blood coming off the headshot, this is impressive. We finally snipe enough Germans and Vasily's campaign is done. Off to North Africa, woohoo. Again, these documentaries are so needed because these were real people like you and me. Could you imagine being in a small metal tank driving through the desert getting shot at by tanks that outrange you by 400 meters? Absolutely incredible. I remember not liking the British campaign for some reason when I was a kid. Maybe it was because I had to play it to unlock the American campaign, but I can tell you right now, this was my new favorite out of the 3 to play through. This first level is just normal chaos, and I love the trench warfare. Clearing out bunkers took time, and covering your corners, hearing the groans of someone you just burst 20 Thompson rounds into their chest, well, it's brutal. After clearing the caches, we get an Indiana Jones music to blow up a door, and yes, this is the Captain Price, or his grandfather? What's the lore? Anyways, we're tasked with defending this village, and oh boy, again, it's a defensive mission, but from the Germans running towards you to the tanks advancing on you, this was such an epic spectacle. Getting to use your binoculars to target troops and armor is one of those moments that I won't forget easily. Seeing the boys come in and that music, whoa.
Tell Rommel you've been beat by the boys of the Sand Army! That's the last of the 100
I couldn't imagine. We fight our way through more tunnels and defend another spot for a radio point. Nothing special. You can hear me clipping a photo like, come on, this speaks for itself. You don't get this a lot in modern games. It's like if Steven Spielberg directed this, and again, this is 2005. Honestly, I could show this off to people and say this was made in 2019 by an indie dev team and probably would get past them. There are some things that do show its age, mostly pop-in and lighting, but one dynamic lighting overhaul and this game could easily have been out last year. One thing I didn't like when I noticed it, and I couldn't unnotice it, was that your gun doesn't move when you move. Usually in games like Tarkov, Counter-Strike, there's a little bit of a sway, but in this game it's like your whole arm and gun are frozen, and only when you fire does it move. I don't know why I hyper-focused on it, but I did. Can we talk about this set piece? This is so cool, and that we're attacking these gun positions so that our ships can come in. And look at this detail. The compass is actually pointing north to Europe and some of the British Armada. This was a really neat moment. Even though it's nothing compared to the pipelines in the Russian campaign, this city creates a sense of claustrophobia too. I really enjoyed that it wasn't just straightforward and each house had a different layout. You really need to be careful about advancing. Wow. And holy moly, this just after that? Again, they don't take off the foot from the gas. Like that guy just had 30 plus bullets in his chest right after a bombing run. I know I might sound repetitive, but I'm trying to make a point from the beginning. The goal of this game. I really think Call of Duty's goal was to make a great shooter with enough detail to actual events and stories that it could function both as a turn off your brain shooter and a thoughtful and provocative statement on war. And I think they pull it off 1000%. These documentaries are beginning to be the only break this game gives, but also it gives a fair warning about what you'll face next. Like, come on, I don't even know if I have it in me to be in one of those tanks. I truly thank the people that put their lives on the line and died for the freedoms that we have today. Well, we step into the tank and wow, this was awesome. Seeing your different company tanks all advancing on the enemy lines was a sight to see, and especially with the sunset in the distance, I couldn't help but feel a little moved. Engaging the panzers was stressful but fun, and I don't know if it was intended, but almost every friendly tank died, which was supposed to depict what really happened during these engagements. Or was I just bad? We have more tank engagements and then head over to Tujan, Tunisia. Remember when I was saying these levels felt claustrophobic? This was one of my favorites because of how they used the design in the level's gameplay. You start off the level defending a building from the Krauts and things are not looking good. Having to abandon your position for the streets, we make our way outside and commandeer their ride. I was stressed, but it also was kind of humorous.
What in blazes are you waiting for, man? Get this thing moving, McGregor! I'm trying, sir, but I'm putting controls on all in German! Davis, enemy infantry, throw a gun! Open fire! You dunce! Just put your foot on that pedal and push! Aye, sir!
The second we got started moving on rails, though, I just wanted to shout, go, go, go! The gun felt powerful and mowing down countless Nazis never gets old. It was like John McClane and Indiana Jones had a child. So, back to the level design. You're just going around this level, but in different ways. It's a fantastic idea and really sets in the feeling of no escape.
Time for a runner, lads! Check your ammo and stick together!
Oh, I love Captain Price. We continue our escape down the enemy riddled streets and get into the last truck out of town. Next level is us going back to the same place, now with some armor. I thought this was a cool touch because it makes the place you're fighting for feel important. It also probably helped with the development time too. I haven't talked about it yet, but I really enjoyed how many weapons were available to a player, even though there are my clear favorites. Mostly the MP44, and for myself, the bar, but I know that wasn't the most popular back in the day. The models for the guns are also impressive for 2005, yet they don't have the oomph of a modern shooter. I don't really know how to explain it. After securing this part of town after the ambush, we continue on to the main center of town, meeting heavy resistance. There were never just 5 or 10 Germans. Usually there were like 10, then reinforced by another 10 to 15. They also can tank some hits, so if you're using certain weapons, be careful about rushing in. You'll be overwhelmed. And Jesus, the sounds in this game. I love this part, but no rest. The Allies are closing in on the final Nazi forces in Africa, and we're here to take them out. Unfortunately, it's an ambush.
You keep your bad feelings to yourself. Just keep your eyes on the road, Private. Man down! Follow me! I've been right behind you! It's an ambush! Hands are shreds on the road! It's on fire!
I was definitely surprised by this. I had no memory of this part and honestly smiled during the engagement because of how cool it was to implement something like this to start a level. This game's pacing is honestly top notch. The only thing I could think of would be the timed defenses, which are usually about 5 minutes, that can feel a little bit too long. Other than that, the pacing is immaculate. We finally clear the AA gun and use it to our advantage.
Well done, lads. Search the area for intelligence and gather up the rest of these supplies. Be prepared to move out in 2 hours. Dismissed.
Well, we're not done after Africa. I guess the British command want us to deal with more Nazi armor in France, which we oblige. These levels were something else. From going to house to blown out house, brutal close quarters combat, and an unexpected moment of morality.
Don't shoot! Please! Nicht schießen! We have wounded here! Hold your fire, lads!
I say we slot a sodding lot of them.
Hold your fire, that's an order!
I couldn't be happier with what Call of Duty 2 was delivering. We need some way to transport the wounded that we found, so why not commandeer a German vehicle? Yeah, this was fun, except my rocket went through the tank twice. It was one of the only glitches, and it didn't detract from the set piece.
Made it! Oh, I can't believe it! That was one big bloody tank back there. Good work, Davis. I owe you one. Hell, I owe you two. All right, chaps, the lorry's here. Let's load him up. Well done, Sergeant. You know, Davis, I almost envy this lot of Yanks. The bloody war's over for these poor bastards.
The ambiance is out of this world. You have to play these levels for yourself, starting here and going through the American campaign, to truly feel the burden and excitement this game creates. Try to play it in one sitting. It's hard, not because it's bad in any way, it's just heavy. Let me know if you agree, or if any other game has had you feel this way. There are some amazing set pieces like the farm, taking the administration building or the mail house, checks notes, another farm. I get it, it's France, there are a lot of farms. And that's the British campaign. What a campaign. From dust of the North Africa to the green mud of northern France. The visuals to the gameplay in this campaign were far by my favorite, and I was blown away by how engaging it was. And so starts the American campaign. Awe-inspiring in every sense of the word, that this was less than 100 years ago. You don't get more iconic than this. Obviously, they were taking from Saving Private Ryan, a movie that if you haven't seen is a true classic. So I'll let the scene speak for itself.
This is it! Firing rockets!
Clearing out the bunkers on the western front was something else. Tunisia be damned. These guys were entrenched, and I need to use this lean mechanic a lot. Now, I say this like this wasn't a real place, but this was great level design. The interior corridors gave great close quarter combat, and steps outside were long straights of land with trenches weaving through them. It brought an intense duality to the fighting which was felt. We finally advanced inland and clear houses and farms alike. I wonder where Sergeant Baker is right now. He should be around here somewhere. After destroying some artillery guns, we have to go back to the beachhead and secure the top. Again, what in the heck? These guys were like 19, 20, 21. Pulling this off with the sergeant who was probably 25, 30? It's wild stuff. We continue on at the defense of the crossroads that easily gets overtaken by the Nazis. What were the Americans thinking bringing squads so far in if they couldn't defend them? Could someone explain this? We retreat back to an orchard and have this beautiful view of advancing German forces, especially with an MG-42 firing at them. Unfortunately, we have to retreat even more and somehow back on top of the beach. See, even though this is like the 10th time we've waited for reinforcements, deploying that green smoke and seeing the reinforcements come in, damn, now that's good content. We continue fighting our way eastward and get this great sniper standoff. Finding mortar teams and getting these shots off were so satisfying, and being able to see the scale of the assault was something to behold.
German mortar crew to the south! German troops! Past the low wall! Enemy mortar team to the north!
Oh man, Hill 400. This is one of the levels that I do remember, and how much I died playing this as a kid. If someone's counting, please don't, because again, this game never gives you a minute to breathe. It's something unique that must be intentional. The push for the hill is just brutal. Like, absolutely, the climb is brutal. It's more of a mountain. You're not going straight up, more like you're weaving your way around the mountain, slowly taking bunkers and ascending maybe 20 or 10 feet per bunker. It's quite ludicrous. If any of these things seem unreal or unimaginable to you, there are so many amazing documentaries that show footage, have people that participated in these operations, and documentation that I implore you, if you like this video or video games about history, history can sometimes be as engaging as a game. But I digress. Finally, getting to the top, the job is just halfway finished. We're tasked with taking out much of the artillery and encampments the Germans have dug in. To look down at what we have just traversed really was a spectacle to remember. This was just scorched landscape at this point, and I truly thought war is hell. Another defensive position, but this time you really had no idea where to hide. I loved this part. Intense does not do it justice. From the constant German advances to the artillery strikes raining down.
Find a trench! Artillery barrage! Take cover! Stay in your foxhole! It ain't much, but it sure beats getting your head blown off! Wait for the barrage to lift! Hold your cover!
This level was difficult, to say the least, but somehow we defended. It's interesting because this would have been where I thought a natural ending would have been, but there was one more level, crossing the Rhine.
March 7th, 1945. In an extraordinary turn of events, a single bridge across the Rhine River is captured intact by the US 9th Armored Division. German forces desperately establish new pockets of defense along the length of the Rhine River in an effort to slow the Allies' advance. Then, on March 24th, a massive assault is unleashed by Allied airborne divisions to secure positions east of the Rhine. At the same time, at various points up and down the river, more Allied forces prepare to make their own crossings into the heart of Germany.
What the heck? Crossing the Rhine is like one of the best levels in the game, for all the reasons this game is good. We have to get after the Germans, but this pesky river called the Rhine is blocking our way. Stupid river. The crossing is intense, and I'm surprised that there were amphibious vehicles in 1944, but this war never ceases to amaze. I had never heard about this landing, so when it felt like a small-scale D-Day, I was intrigued. Especially attacking into a city, this was a great introduction. I still don't know why we could use the cannons though, but we pushed through the streets with the same amount of brutal engagement that we've been accustomed to all game. Again, we have this open area and 2 tanks driving around, but at a larger scale than the Soviet level. This was great, and again, great usage of reusing the level while not sacrificing narrative linearity. And like that, Call of Duty 2 is done. What a game. I can't believe it. Call of Duty 2 managed to bring engaging gameplay and fun mechanics with a brutally real depiction of World War II, even with embellishment. I didn't finish Call of Duty 2 and go, wow, that made me think. No, it was throughout the whole game that I contemplated the ups and downs, trials and tribulations of every person that lived through the perilous times in our collective history, and who resisted one of the ultimate evils. I'm glad that these games exist so that these moments can be remembered and that people do look up the real stories of these heroes, villains, and ordinary people that lived through these extraordinary times. Thank you so much for watching. It truly means the world to me, and I would really love to hear your thoughts on this game, what effect it had on you, and what you got out of it. If you really enjoyed the video, please leave that comment. Click that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Any one of those things helps. And as always, see you next time.